Katie Nolan launched her new SiriusXM podcast, Casuals, earlier this year. Casuals is a sports podcast for everyone, from the sports curious to the sports obsessed, which I could co-sign on. This show is not very knowledgeable in sports, but Katie is much more knowledgeable. Next Saturday, May 31st, Katie will be doing a live broadcast taping at the WBUR Festival here in Boston with special guest. Guess the special guest, John Hardy knows. Ex-athlete in Boston who has time and time again given us no credit.
Oh, that would be Brian Scalabrine.
Of course, Brian Scalabrine. Yeah. Go to WBURfestival.org to attend. If you can listen to you can listen to Casuals wherever you get your podcasts. Brian Scalabrine, we made him, and then he went on Rolling Stone and said he had his own radio show. And
make sure you question him about that thoroughly.
Yeah.
Okay, specifically, I will. Hi, Fred. Good to see you.
Hi, Katie. I can't see you because I don't know how to operate the machinery involved. But
good to hear you.
People are speculating that I dye my hair red. If you want to get in on that.
It does look. I wasn't gonna say, but I was gonna say after to somebody else that it does look. Your hair looks different.
Yeah, it's apparently a red dye, and to which people have been questioning if I dye it. But then I asked two questions: is that why would I dye my hair red? If anything, I would try to run from that as much as possible. I am a Ralph Malph fan, but not enough to cosplay as him. And second of all, I just admit it, but I don't dye my hair. I don't.
It's the lights, Katie.
And I'm old, Katie.
And it'll do that. I will say, if you tried to dye it brown and it's very gray, it might look red. So that could be.
Well, that's further evidence that I'm dyeing it. I don't like that,
yeah,
Katie.
Sorry.
You didn't help me at all. You just made it more obvious that I'm dyeing my hair. This is not going well. All right, Katie. All right, you're also on Pablo Torre Finds Out. I don't know if you know, we had Pablo on. He's a inspiration. I love Pablo, what he's doing so much. I love you as well. You're on it. I love your reaction when he told you that he had gone to the Airbnb that Bill Belichick, the Ring camera footage was on. You just exclaimed the F word over and over again, which was my reaction as well. I've been talking about him with this girl, and not because of the age difference, which I would assume lots of rich guys and powerful guys that are older sleep with younger women. I don't know why that's fetishized, but it is. Old guys do that, whatever. That's not a big deal. But this story, Pablo explains it so well and articulates it so well, is like almost like an HBO comedy about an arrogant bully that then loses this position, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, it's first of all, I love Pablo. I think he does an amazing job. It is the first time I've ever had to experience live journalism where he'll just tell us to come in and won't tell us what information he has, and then we find out basically at the same time that the listener would be finding out. So that it's a little stressful, and it's probably why I curse so much, because I have no idea at any moment what he's going to show me. And when he showed me that he had found this Airbnb and filmed himself with a shirt on, a little disappointing for the reenactment, but Pablo with a shirt on coming out of that Airbnb on that Ring camera that caught Bill Belichick. Very fascinating. But yeah, I think, do you think an angle for it for you is that, like, this is a guy that if you're from this area or interacted with him in any way, especially sports media, like, he gave nothing. Did he really think that at this point to be messy and spill over like this, like, media wasn't going to go, oh, that's a thing we're finally getting, a morsel on Belichick? Of course, it's weird for all the reasons I find it weird, but I think it's weirder that people in the comment sections of these videos are like, why does this matter? It's like, because we tried to get to know this guy for decades and we got nothing. And now what we're getting is so the opposite of, like, do your job, no distractions, which was hammered down our throats.
Well, okay, I can just real quickly give you an example. Jim Irsay just passed away, and Jim Irsay was a flawed man, but he was upfront about it. He was very relatable in that. I think that's a quality that I certainly admire. You know, look, I'm a human being too. This is the way I am, and open and talking and self-effacing and those things. Belichick, I think, hid, and it's another interesting angle is he kind of hid his stupidity. Is now what's coming out from everyone around him is he kind of hid his stupidity under an air of arrogance and bullying. Which, when that is stripped away and the person is exposed, is like Shakespearean. I mean, it's
awesome is what it is.
it's Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for a number of reasons. I get it that they might just be in love. You can't control who you fall in love with. But there's just so much around it that's strange, like the lying about how old the changing of what year she was born, the pageants of it all. It's just such a strange story with so much to it that it's hard to look away instead of digging deeper and asking, like, what the hell is going on?
So one thing, and it barely bears mentioning, Katie, but there was a story in the Globe last week, and a clinical psychologist and a therapist and this relationship expert and media person was interviewed for the story, and this woman said that this story seems to have captured the imagination mostly of men. It only seems men who are the ones who really care about this. And both Fred and I said, not only is that incorrect, it's the opposite. And I wonder if you've experienced the same thing. Like, the reaction to this comes from casual sports fans, which aren't necessarily men or women, but it's women on both sides of it. Fans, non-sports fans, that have the most to say about this and seem to be the most interested in it.
Yeah, I think it would probably be because like media geared specifically towards women is not like, this isn't a foreign angle to them. Being interested in somebody's relationship and how they met and what's going on there is stereotypically, at least, more of a female angle on a story. And I think Belichick is such a transcendent figure that even if you're not really tuned into sports like that, you're aware of at least some adjectives that are used to describe Bill Belichick, of like basically just curmudgeon, old, like buttoned up, that kind of stuff. So I think that, yeah, this is, to me, it's kind of like it's a gossipy story about a sports guy. And I've seen men that are very interested and fascinated. I also think, in order to be fascinated, men would have to admit that that it might be weird for an older man to date somebody that's like 3 generations younger than them. And I think there's a lot of sports fans, men, not all, please hear me when I say not all, but a lot of them who think that they could do that and it would be normal and cool. Not
if you're old and gross. Mick Jagger, George Clooney, these are an art dealer that's like somehow a small royalty in Morocco. These are the things that don't seem odd. An old gross guy that looks every year of that age.
You said that, not me. You said that.
Yes, Fred Toucher. Bill Belichick is old and gross.
Why are you backing away from the table?
I defy you.
I don't know. I don't want to say it. I just feel bad. It's crazy to me
how
much
him.
I respected and loved this
he's a
guy
piece
for
of crap.
so long. It's such a bummer how much I defended him in every situation, to just once again be shown that was the wrong call. And here we are in whatever this. But again, if he's just happy and they're engaged, as some may be saying, well then, I hope we're all invited to the wedding.
Well, the kids aren't going. I'll tell you that. But here's Katie. As we talk about the story, and Hardy brings up a good point about are women interested in this story? It's asinine that the clinical psychologist who has a Harvard degree that specializes in relationships think that women aren't in it. But as you navigate sports media, the casuals is an interesting thing. It's sort of like this show. When I knew I was going to do sports talk, I had no interest in on one side, there's the Ron Jaworski show that used to be on Sunday mornings where he literally just broke down plays with an all-22. And I used to think, who the hell is watching this?
That's why they put it on at 7 in the morning.
It's so boring. But and then on the other side, but there is navigating how to be funny, how to be kind of irreverent, not take it so seriously. How is that for you when you're dealing with big companies and stuff like that? You're a high profile person. How do you sell that to people?
I think for me, the way that I sold this was those shows all exist, and sports TV has shown that it's very good at that, especially, ESPN, Fox Sports 1. They have this formula of making sports TV that they've shown they're incredible at executing. Same thing with live events, because sports is so many things at once. And these networks are very good at doing those things. But I just felt like there was never really a spot where it was okay, but also there's this way of consuming it. We can also speak to this fan, the one who looks at, people breaking down defenses and goes like, oh, I could try to understand this better, I'm sure, but it's not really moving me. It's not catching me. I'll just go watch something else. The person who wants to be entertained and is there for the entertainment of the sport more than they are for predicting what's going to happen or understanding the coaching of why it was coached this way. Someone who's more just there for the personalities and the watching of a game. And the thing I saw or pictured as I was making this show was think of all of your friends. Think of a stadium of people. Think of Fenway Park. How many people are there watching that game that go home and never listen to a sports podcast? It's a ton, because there's a lot of people who would love to go to a baseball game that aren't into it like that. But I know they care about sports and are interested in the culture around sports. So I wanted to make a podcast that would maybe appeal to those people in the stadium that go to games, know the teams, aren't necessarily experts, but when they do try to listen to sports content, it kind of doesn't address them or speak to them in a way that they feel welcomed and it's not that serious. It's just sports.
When you are, networks are generally dumb and formulaic. So when you go to, they are McAfee. When you go to a network and you pitch this, did they go, well, this isn't a debate show? You know what I'm saying? Is it hard to get through their heads that what you're doing works at this level, but there's other ways to perform. There's other ways to entertain.
Yeah, I think at the networks, the main issue for me was that what this boils down to as a TV show, this concept, this idea of appealing to a casual fan is usually a late night format. It's a comedy show is the best way to describe it. And sports TV is not in the business of hiring writers. So there's a sort of a reluctance to invest in the back end of producing a TV show that's very different from the type of TV that they produce. Because if you think about it, they've got all the best producers for what they make, those debate shows, in-house, and it's cheap. They're basically just writing lower thirds on an argument between two guys. They just have to come up with what the topics are. So when I come in and I'm like, okay, I want to do a weekly show where we do a little bit of sketch, a little bit of man on the street, maybe a little monologue, we have a guest on. That's so many different types of TV. And if you look at any, late night show staff, not late night shows are booming. Just let me use it as an example.
Right.
But if you look at their staff, it's a lot of people, and it just wasn't. It wasn't possible budget wise. It didn't make sense for sports when all of their money usually has to go towards rights, acquiring rights for their, showing the actual sport. They don't want to spend the money on the other stuff, which, makes sense to me, but it also didn't change my mind that I think everybody would benefit from a show that speaks more to a casual fan.
But you're funny and well known. So if I was at a network and you pitch something to me, I would be I don't need a whole team of writers. I don't need it to be that structured. Funny people, it doesn't have to be this form. It doesn't have to follow this certain format. I would give talent a license. I would believe in the talent and give them a license to create something. Is what I'm saying.
And that's are you starting a network? Because it sounds great. And I would love.
No, I think my idea of trusting talent would immediately disqualify me if being at any network.
Exactly. It's especially. I was shocked when I got to ESPN when I first got there. They did a all talent meeting. So they were everybody come to Connecticut. All talent only, not off camera people, only on camera people. And they filled a room so big that I was there's this, everybody here is on camera talent. That's so many people. It's just such a vast company that once I was in there, I was oh, this is, I have to fit into the machine. The machine's not going to change to me, which, of course, but silly me. I felt like I had an idea and we would push to make that work. But the real world doesn't work that way, Fred. We know that.
I understand the immediate pushback, though, and you stated it perfectly at the beginning, which is we do these shows, we have a couple of producers, they come up with the topic, and then the guys just kind of run with it, and it doesn't require a lot of work, doesn't require a lot of money. Oh, Katie, you have a really good idea, and you want to do all these different things. That sounds like work.
Yeah,
that sounds like
sorry.
work for us and work for other people. I don't know that other people are going to want to work that
We're not
much.
used to this.
They're owned by Disney. I would imagine that. I don't know.
They could do it, but it's more work than what they're accustomed
Well,
to.
at a very small level, I will give CBS credit when they put this show on the air because they allowed us to do what we wanted to do, and at least locally, at a very, very minor level, that was allowed. And a lot of people thought we were going to fail immediately. People in this building thought we were going to fail immediately.
Bring them out.
Yeah. Gresh thought we were going to fail.
He had already put in his application to replace them at one point.
No, I like Andy, too. I don't blame him. I would have thought the same thing. All right, Katie Nolan, listen, you're the best. I know Dan Soder, your husband, was angry at us, but it wasn't me that did it. The guy's not on the show anymore.
He's not angry at you anymore. I brought it up last night. I said that I was doing, I said I was doing your show. And he was like, oh, I like those guys. They were good sports about me being mad at them. So
Yeah.
he's not mad at you anymore.
Well, Dan's like the best comic to have on because he's done radio, so he gets it, and it's a lot of fun. And you're the best. And Katie Nolan, Casuals is something that I will be listening to. And obviously, if you listen to the show, you hear an awful lot of Pablo Torre Finds Out as we enjoy the work that he's doing, so we don't have to do it and we can just make fun of what he's talking about. So, Katie, thank you so much for joining us. All the best. You're a huge talent. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Thank you. I couldn't see you, but I now you've got
Good to see you with your new hair.
Yeah, you doubled down on the hair, and now I'm even thinking I'm dyeing it. Now I'm even thinking I'm dyeing it.
I'm looking at it. She's not wrong for thinking it.
Well, listen.
Nobody's wrong
Maybe
for
she's
thinking
right. Maybe this is just a very elaborate way of me of tricking people. Well, Katie, thank you so much.